Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Helldivers 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Zero. Let's get to it. So today we're talking about the updates to Helldivers, but before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. So let's get into it. So Helldivers 2 recently got a large patch, which I like to call the fun patch, bringing the fun back to Helldivers. That was, maybe not missing per se, but it was lessened. All right, so there's actually a lot of changes here. So let's get right into it. Partial damage, where you were hitting an armored piece, you could tell because it did like a little white hit marker instead of a red hit marker. It was only doing half damage, so you were wasting a whole bunch of ammo trying to take one guy out. So now it's at 65%. So you're still going to use more, but it's not going to be as punishing. Don't forget to pick up the Napalm Barrage, which was recently unlocked, especially since the fire damage is back. Helldivers take less damage from headshots. Previously it was 200% damage, now it's 150% damage. However, damage to other body parts has been slightly increased. They didn't say how much. This should keep your Helldivers from experiencing sudden death syndrome. So overall, you're going to be still going to be getting hit, you're still going to be damaged, but you're not going to have those instances where you're just like, what happened? Primary weapons, Liberator and Liberator Carbine, damage increased from 60 to 70. Durable damage increased from 14 to 17, so an armored area, trying to knock off the armor. Not the best weapon for it, but it's there. Stagger Force increased from 10 to 15, so you get a 50% increase. Max spare magazines increased from 7 to 8. Starting spare increased from 5 to 6. So if you don't have that Hell Pod optimization booster, you'll start with 6 instead of 5, and you'll have a total of 8 possible. The Knight damage is increased from 50 to 65. Durable damage increased from 5 to 7, so not for armored. Knocking off armor pieces. Magazines now fully refill when picking up resupply, which is great. And reduced recoil. Liberator Concussive now comes with a drum magazine, which holds 60 rounds. Number of mags reduced from 10 to 6, because now you've got 60 rounds instead of whatever it was before. Tenderizer, number of rounds in the magazine increased by 5 from 30 to 35. Starting magazines increased from 4 to 5. So that's always good. The Breaker's back. Now comes with extended magazine, which holds 16 shells. Stagger Force increased from 10 to 15. The Spray and Pray, the Breaker Spray and Pray, now has a duckbill muzzle, making it spread very horizontally but less vertically. Total damage increased from 192 to 240. That's if you hit every pellet into an enemy. The Scythe's cooldown is faster, which is good because all those laser weapons have been like really punishing for the heat, even when you're not in the desert. Adjustments to the heat VFX. Scope changed to a low-powered scope, removed the recoil, and sets enemies on fire faster, which is great because it was supposed to do that, and you really almost never saw it. The explosive crossbow, the radius explosions increased by 50%. Awesome. But also, yikes. Damage increased from 150 to 350, so hits much harder. The Eruptor, they brought the shrapnel projectiles. Set at 30, shrapnel damage is set to 110, and explosive damage decreased from 340 to 225. So you got shrapnel and explosive damage, which is really great. The Eruptor is that really like heavy sniper rifle. So it's got explosive rounds and it's got shrapnel, which is awesome. So it's got... it'll no longer one-shot Helldivers unless you hit them in the head. Explosion radius has been increased by 33%, 17% for the inner radius, 50% for the outer radius. So the inner radius, the part that does the most explosive damage, is increased a little bit, but then you've got damage over a bigger area overall. The Defender damage increased from 70 to 75. Durable damage increased from 7 to 8. Liberator Penetrator damage increased from 45 to 60. So a nice damage buff there. The Diligence, marksman rifle, sniper rifle, whatever you want to call it, damage increased from 140 to 200. So nice bump in power there. Durable damage increased from 14 to 50. Huge increase to durable damage, so you can knock off armor pieces much easier. Stagger force increased from 15 to 20. The Blitzer now has a weak stun effect that builds up per shot on its target. So you can stun targets after you hit them a couple times. The Torture damage increased by 50%. Flamer mechanics reverted to what it was before Escalation of Freedom. Increased AP from 3 to 4. Fantastic. Like, I am so stoked about the fire damage coming back. Sidearms. The Peacemaker increased max spare magazines from 5 to 6. The Dagger gains heat more slowly, just like the other one. Removed recoil. Damage increased from 200 to 250. Sets enemies on fire faster. Adjustments to heat VFX. The Crisper damage increased by 50%. Flamer mechanics reverted to before the changes and increased AP from 3 to 4. Support weapons. Dedicated anti-tank weapons they categorize them in 3 categories, which I wouldn't necessarily have agreed with, but anyway. The strong and reliable, the recoilless, and the spear, I would not have put those 2 together, but it is what it is. Can afford to be less accurate when firing at an armored turret. I mean, the spear, you get a lock and you shoot. So you can't really aim it other than at, where do you want the lock? Do you want it on this guy or that guy? When you can lock on them. Since most hits will eliminate enemies the size of a charger. So Factory Striders and Bile Titans, not so much. Strong, which is the Eat and the Quasar, highly effective, killing targets with a single hit to a weak point, or 2 solid shots will handle a charger, or 1 for a Hulk. And then the less strong, which is the Commando and the Exosuit rockets, which could require up to 3 shots to take down a charger or Hulk, depending on what your aim is. Grenade launchers starting spare magazines increased from 1 to 2, maximum increased from 2 to 3. Great, because grenade launcher was feeling a little left out there for a while. Explosion radius was slightly increased, didn't say how much. Laser cannon, cooldown slightly faster, which is good. Removed recoil, set enemies on fire faster, can now damage heavier enemies like Chargers, Bile Titans, Impalers, and Hulks. So that's awesome. The Arc Thrower, the original Helldiver killer, the range is increased from 35 to 55, has a moderate stun effect that builds upon hits, jumps additional times, and durable damage increased from 50 to 100. Railgun, durable damage increased from 60 to 225. Railgun's back. Fully overcharging damage increased from 150 to 250. So you're getting a whole bunch of extra damage for hitting that unsafe mode and charging it up all the way before exploding in your hand, of course. The Stalwart. Damage increased from 60 to 70. Durable damage 14 to 17. Stagger increased from 10 to 15. The machine gun staggers increased from 15 to 20. Anti-material rifle. Durable damage increased from 135 to 180, so a small bump there. And it can now damage heavier enemies like Chargers, Bile Titans, Impalers, and Hulks. Stagger force increased from 20 to 25. Heavy machine guns, stagger increased from 20 to 25, can now damage heavy enemies like Chargers, Bile Titans, Impalers, and Hulks. You know, they made a point here not to include factory striders in this. I don't know if that was intended or not. Commando, demolition strength decrease. So you can't take out fabricators in a single shot, but you can take them out with 2 shots. Which brings it more in line with like the Eats. Flamethrower, damage increased by 33%. And mechanics reverted back to previous, just like the rest of the fire. Armor penetration increased from 3 to 4, can damage heavier enemies, Chargers, Bile Titans, Impalers, and Hulks. Bile Titans previously were basically immune to flamethrowers and flame damage. Now you can actually do some damage with a flamethrower. Autocannon can now damage heavier enemies like Chargers, Bile Titans, Impalers, and Hulks. I was able to hit Hulks and take them out with the autocannon, but you had to hit a weak point, and there's only 2 weak points on the Hulk, really. Main weak points, I should say. Frag grenades, shrapnel damage increased by roughly 50%. Max amount increased from 4 to 5. Refill increased from 2 to 3. Explosion radius increased. Thermite explosion damage increased from 100 to 2,000. So a huge bump. Shorter time until it ignites the thermite. Time until it explodes slightly reduced. And you get 3 instead of 4. So big jump in damage, but you don't get as many, and there's a shorter time frame before it ignites. The Galactic War Map can show the location of strategically important assets, which will make it easier to figure out where you want to go next. They included an emote wheel, so you can have 4 or up to 4 emotes at a time. Fabricators now have health and armor in addition to their destruction system, which means that high armor penetration weapons can still destroy them, but it may take multiple hits, like the Commando takes 2 now. And they added effects to make that a little bit more clear where the health is at. Hulks, all types, armor reduced from 5 to 4, back weak spot slightly more durable. Back weak spot health decreased from 1,000 to 800, so it's more durable, but it has less health. And the armor is overall reduced. Bruiser replaced the rocket launcher for an energy weapon and shoots more frequently. The tanks, the front armor is increased from 5 to 6. So heavy armor threat right there. Berserker head health reduced from 150 to 125. Main health reduced 1,000 to 750. Abdomen, is now a weak point. Chainsaw damage increased, which is good because Berserkers were doing ridiculous amounts of health, and I would knock them with a whole magazine, and they would still be coming at me. So this should alleviate that problem. Devastators, all types, main health reduced 800 to 750, so a small. And Devastators now flinch when hit. So even though before you were hitting rocket Devastators or heavy Devastators, and they would just tear you apart. So that's good. Rocket Devastators now have a limited number of rockets, and they will disappear, and they can reload 1 time. And the collision physics is smaller, making them easier to avoid. Gunships, same thing, limited number of rockets, and the collision is smaller. Chargers, all types of Chargers, armor reduced from 5 to 4. The butt weak point health decreased from 1,100 to 950. Slightly less durable. Belly armor reduced from 4 to 2. Damage multiplier has been added to exposed flesh of the main body, now tripling damage. Turns slightly slower, charges less often. Charge damage increased by 50%, side attack damage increased by 50%. So a little bit easier to avoid, but if they catch you off guard, you're in trouble. The Behemoth, the weak spot health is decreased from 1200 to 950. Hunter health reduced from 175 to 160, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually makes a big difference, I think. Scavenger health reduced from 80 to 60. Bow Titan armor reduced from 5 to 4. And reworked the belly gameplay. The armor is reduced from 4 to 2 on the belly. So once you destroy that outer layer and you kill the health pool there, then you take them out. Impaler, armor reduced from 5 to 4 previously. Impaler can only retract its tentacles only once. Now it can do it several times. It pursues over a shorter distance, prioritizes players that are closer, etc. And tentacles require less damage before they retract. So all good things there. Every stratagem capable of damaging heavily armored enemies has their damage increased to account for increased health of heavier enemies. So it brings it in line with some of the weapons. Eagle 500 kilogram. Explosion radius matches the visual. Rocket damage increased slightly. Gatling sentry stagger increased slightly. Machine guns, same thing. Tesla Tower increases stagger force to match other arc weapons. Has moderate stun effect. Heavy machine gun emplacement stagger increased and can damage heavier enemies. The exosuit Gatling stagger increased. Emancipator auto cannon durable damage increased from 60 to 150. Rate of fire increased from 125 to 175. Ammo increased to 100 per arm. Orbital laser damage slightly increased. Rail cannon slightly increased. Gas strike is being completely reworked. So more crowd control and less damage. And then a whole bunch of other fixes, crash fixes, etc. So there's a lot going on in this update. And like I said at the beginning, this is bringing the fun back to the Helldivers experience. And one of the reasons why I think they delayed doing this type of update is that they still wanted it to be challenging. They wanted that fear factor going in that you might not make it out. But I think that has always been there. But being able to do that and also have fun at the same time is, I don't think it's as thin a line as most people would think. I think there's a lot of games that you can have fun and it's still challenging. Being challenging can mean a lot of different things. But I think that the changes that they've made have made it less punishing for players that don't have a stratagem available. Previously, if you ran out of stratagems, everything's on cooldown, you were dead in the water. The only real thing you could do is hit and run tactics. You run, you shoot them, you run some more, you shoot them, and you're just waiting for those stratagems to cool down. Now you actually have, I think, the firepower to hit back even when everything is on cooldown. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.
ETA T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone.
Get some! Heavy, northeast, close.
Pelican 1 approaching pickup.
Freedom forever!
Pelican 1 landing sequence initiated. Watch where you're standing. Countdown initiated. 10
プレイステーション